Welcome back everybody to Saurus 001's channel, and this is Dual Universe. This is actually a video to tell you a little bit of the information as to what I have learned after a week of playing. So this is my factory. This is basically just to produce a few end products. I've got a small, a medium, and over here a large assembler. And there are a few things that I'd like to go into with you today to just basically let you know what you're going to be getting into if you're playing this game. This took me practically the entire week just to build this factory, and I know that some of you are saying, well, why didn't you build it faster than that? It's because I was buying products off the market to actually build all of this stuff, and I had to sell things to buy those products and stuff like that. But now I have a good income built up, and I should be earning a fair amount of money per day. I've got some aged steel and some steel honeycomb on the market, and I've got some basic refiners and some honeycomb refineries and stuff like that on the market. So totaling about 2.4 million in assets on there, and I'm buying some more iron at the moment. Well, it's not iron, it's hematite, but you turn the hematite into iron, so iron basically. So what I have learned is that the tutorials are something that you cannot skip in this game. You really need to get into your tutorials straight away as soon as you can. Just get into your tutorials, play through these. There are things in here that you will definitely need to know. That is one of the first tips that I have for you. If there's anything that you don't know about the game, or you want to know how to do anything specific, look at the tutorials and they will tell you what to do. The other thing which it's been disabled recently is that sometimes there's challenges in here. When I first started, there were challenges in here. They are a good way of earning a little bit of cash to get you started. So basically you play the challenge, you pick up goods, drop off goods, whatever, and it pays you at the end of the challenge. You can do them once a day or every 18 hours if you really want to stay up 18 hours to actually get the money again in the same day. But you should really sleep. You got to sleep, but I know you're saying right now sleep is for the weak, but sleep is not for the weak. You really need to sleep just so you can understand this game. The next thing that I want to talk about is that I had to develop a spreadsheet just to keep track of all of my resources and all of my money and where's it going and the costs of every item, and you have to fill in all the skills and everything for your spreadsheet. It's a good idea to get that started straight off the bat. If you can do that and just fill it in as you go, it will be much easier to construct your spreadsheet, because I constructed the spreadsheet on Friday or something last week. It took me 8 hours because of all the skills and everything that I had to add. So you might want to start your spreadsheet straight away. If you don't know how to do a spreadsheet, there are tutorials and things online that will teach you how to make a spreadsheet, but basically you just got to do a little bit of math and stuff so you can keep track of all your skills and everything like that. Finding the baseline skill is a hard thing to do, but I'm sure you'll figure it out in the end. Okay, so now it's been up a week. These were not here last week. All of this stuff was not here. These are all private VR stations, and you can go and take a look around the galaxy, or not the galaxy, it's only really one solar system at the moment, but you can take a look around through all these things. And there are asteroids that you can go and mine for cash or whatever. You do need a ship to go into space. I would suggest just buying one of the ships from the UEF store to get you off planet to start with. It's just because it's very complex actually making a ship in this game. You have to take weight into account, and you got to make sure that you get your newtons right. And all of the measurements are in newtons. It doesn't say tonnage lift, it only tells you the amount in newtons, and you have to convert the newtons into kilograms into meters per kilogram, and you have to make sure that you keep track of all of the weight of your ship. You can actually look at the core of the ship and it will tell you just how heavy the ship is. But for the time being, when you first jump into the game, just buy a basic ship from the UEF store to get you into outer space. There are asteroids and things out there that you can mine. The thing about the game is that now that it's been 2 weeks or something that the game's been operating, there are basically no surface skittles left on any of the moons. All the good tiles are gone. I'm sorry if you didn't get in on the ground floor, but that ship has sailed. That stuff is gone. There will be some of them getting abandoned and stuff over time, and those tiles will be abandoned. You can claim those tiles then, but it's not going to happen right away. So I'm sorry if you didn't get in straight away, but you're not really going to be able to find any valuable resources on any of these moons or anything. All the tiles have been scanned, all of them have been claimed. You might find some out in the PvP areas, but you can't actually claim territory there, and it's very well. You can claim territory there, but people will just blow it up, sort of thing. So not really that much fun. But you can find asteroids around the area, and the asteroids around the area will provide you lots of resources that you need. I, however, don't do that. What I do is I just buy the resources off the market and I ship them to me if they're at a distant location or something. I pay someone as a hauling mission, which these are the hauling missions. You create a hauling mission, you select where it's going from, where it's going to. You can move between containers, retrieve it from a market, move between markets, that sort of thing. And you just set the duration. I usually use 24 hours because after 24 hours, if they haven't come to get it, I'll just go pick it up myself. Alioth and Haven is where you will be starting. If you're starting in this game, you will be starting on Haven, and you can go to Alioth after that. That's where the majority of players are, and that's where the majority of the market stuff is all on Alioth. But don't worry about that, because you'll be starting on Haven. You move on to Alioth, claim a tile there, and then you can sort of figure out how that works. All of this is in a safe zone. Oh.
Mission complete. Mission complete.
Okay, that guy completed all my missions yesterday. I must have done that. Okay, so this is your map. You've got your map here. This is the system map. You'll be starting over here on Haven. There are moons around this area. This is basically where you will be to start with until you get a better ship. The way that you do this is you claim a tile, you collect all the skittles on the tile, but there's practically no skittles left on tiles apart from your starting area on Haven these days. So you collect all the skittles, sell the resources or build goods with it or whatever you want to do to earn your cash to buy your first ship so that you can start going out and go to space resource spots and get asteroids and stuff like that. Now there are asteroids scattered around, but you do have to find them. You have to use an asteroid scanner to find these asteroids, and that is it's a mid-level sort of technology. So if you get a UEF ship that already has an asteroid scanner, then you're one step ahead. There are different types of hauling ships. There are ones that only work in the atmosphere on the planet that you're on, cannot go into space. They're good for hauling at the beginning of the mission, at the beginning of the game, basically moving your resources from one place to another around the same planet. But you really want to get into space as soon as you can if you're going to be playing this game. So once you have your space vessel, I have been paying attention to like chat and stuff and people traveling between, say, Alioth and Mattis and stuff like that. It takes a long time to get between these planets because no one really has a warp core yet. It will be something that gets unlocked later in the game. There will be people who will start building warp cores and warp cells and stuff like that, so you can just basically warp between planets. But at this point in the game, I don't think anyone actually has a warp core on their ship, which may seem strange because the game's been out for 2 weeks, but tiering up in these technologies, like yesterday was the first advanced assembly line that was made, and this dude was selling it for like 6 million quanta or something. It was very expensive, but it was the first one made. I think someone did eventually buy it, but yeah, they're actually one step ahead, because now they can make like the end game products with that assembly line. So anyway, once you go into outer space, you're going to need to be able to scan the asteroids that you find. You use your asteroid scanner to locate the asteroids, fly over to the asteroid, scan the asteroids. You get out of your ship, you scan the asteroids as you're going through. When you find a resource, you mine the resource, haul it back to a planet, and sell it at that planet. If you don't want to sell it and you just want to use it for resources, well, you're probably going to have to sell some of it, because you're not always going to find the exact resource that you're looking for. These asteroids are random, and not all asteroid belts have all resources in them. There's like asteroid belts that have T1 resources, T2 resources, T3. Some of them only have a couple of minerals from each tier, but basically when you start off, you're going to be starting on the planet, on the moon, as it is, Haven Moon, and you start using these things. I will show you. These are basic mining units. You will have one of these when you start. I would suggest getting another 3 as soon as you can, because they produce ore on a regular basis. They do not stop producing ore. I haven't linked that one. They do not stop producing ore for you, and all you have to do is calibrate every day. So this is a calibration thing. There will be a little mini game that comes up here. It's kind of like a Facebook game. The idea is to find the white dot that's somewhere in that area. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, but either way it will spawn in rocks around the mining unit, and when the rocks spawn in around the mining unit, you can harvest those and sell them or use them for your resources, whatever you want to do. I have found out a little trick. I'm not sure if it's intentional by NovaQuark, but you can pick up one of these. So we're in the build mode now. I'll go to deploy element. You can pick up one of these, and I'll just show you this little trick here. I'll readjust it over the hole and put it down. And when you have picked it up and put it down again, you can select your ore type, which this one was hematite, and calibrate it again. Now you're saying, well, why don't I just continue to do that to get as many resources as I need? You can't do that when you start the game, because you only have a certain number of charges. You start with like 12 charges or something like that. Every time you calibrate a machine, it will cost you one of these calibration charges. So you can't just pick it up and put it down and pick it up and put it down and get infinite resources. It doesn't work that way. When you're out of charges, you're out of charges. That's it. You can't calibrate a machine anymore. And if you can't calibrate a machine that you've picked up and put down, it won't produce you resources until you calibrate the machine. So you got to be very careful with these charges that you're using. Otherwise, you won't have any resources coming from that machine. And believe me, the hourly rate is better to have, as well as the calibration per day. Now, when you calibrate these things the first time, I'll show you this mini game. I just do it like this. There are many other methods, but I just basically, I scan the middle, I look for an area of density, and I go out to that side of the density. And there we go, found it straight away. That's it right there. But basically, I scan it like this. But I've already found it, so that was just lucky. That was really lucky, actually. But I just scan it like that, and I look for areas of density, and then I'll scan around the area of density. The battery, if that goes below the optimal remaining power, then you will actually see a drop-off in the amount of production that the device gives you. But this is the white dot over here. This white dot will actually give you 100% or minus 100% target density. I don't know why it says minus 100%. Oh, 100% target density. That's just actually a marker. 100% target density, and that will produce you Well, when you're starting out 3,300 litres or something of ore, the way that you collect that ore, it will also produce you some per hour. So what you do is you start the machine, and it will produce, well, this is 28.42 litres an hour. The reason that it's not producing the 43 or whatever it is that you get after the first day is because I've picked it up and put it back down again. So you actually get almost double the amount if you leave it running instead of picking it up and putting it down again. So if you're going to go AFK for like a week or something, what you want to do is have these calibrated to 100%, because the calibration, see here, it's only 66%. The 66% calibration means that I only get a 66% production rate. So if I do this again tomorrow and I find the white thing again tomorrow, that'll go up to 100%, and then I'll be on 43% or 43.05 litres. This one has got 100% calibration and it's 43.05 litres. Now you have to connect these into a container. I've just got a medium container over here that I'm putting all the ore in, but it basically just puts the ore straight in here, and you can take it out and use it for your production or sell it on the market depending on what you want to do. Right, so that's that done. I'll show you the harvesting thing. So these are the nuggets that you get when you calibrate the device. I've just calibrated that hematite device because I picked it up and put it down again. And they're 400 litre rocks, 150 litre rocks, 50 litre rocks, basically to make it up to that 3,350 litres. It drops that amount of ore around the base of the basic mining unit. They need a straight line to the ground. You need to be able to see, they need to be able to see the ground, otherwise they won't mine at all, they won't work at all. So you have to make sure that they've got a straight line to the ground, and that's basically it. So once you have your resources, I'll just grab this one as well. So I'll just grab this and we'll jump over here to the factory. So I've got one ore container here, which has got like my bauxite, hematite, quartz, coal and stuff like that. They go directly into these containers here. Like if I hold the links on, there's this one goes into there, to there, to there, to there, and all of these produce the different types of ore, the different types of ingots. This is aluminium, carbon, and so on and so forth. And from there, they all go into this box. And this box is where I store the resources. Now, the resources that are in here, I've also been storing some quartz in here as well, because I tend to have a lot of quartz. I don't know where it keeps coming from. I just have a lot of it. But anyway, you feed it into here. And then from there, you connect this up to these smelters. And the smelters will turn them into things like ALFE, steel, silicon, things like that. And that's not the final step. Still getting there. So I've got these going into separate boxes because I tend to need a lot of it. I'm using small boxes as well. These containers only have 10 links maximum that you can have connected to them. 10 links in and out. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, like 12, 13 something things that I'm using to produce the stuff from these boxes. So that's why I'm sending the resources into individual boxes, because if I'm producing something, I only link that box into that crafter. And then from that crafter, I have it going into the next spot. These are basic screws. This is the link coming off it here, this little yellow line, this purple line thing. It goes into this box and the basic screws are stored in there, and they're used for the next level of production, which is the assembly line. So all those resources go into the assembly line. Now, there is something that is a little bit frustrating to some players. Some players, we understand it and we're just like, yeah, that kind of makes sense that they do it that way. The schematics. Now, these schematics, you need to produce these schematics before you can produce anything in an assembler. If you hover over this, it'll tell you what schematic you need to actually produce the item that you're trying to make. And if you click on containers, it will tell you what you have in the containers that are connected to that particular device. and what you're lacking to produce the next one. So I'm making refiners on this at the moment, and I have enough resources to make the next refiner as well. But what I've done is I've just set it to run infinitely, and I've just hit the start button. What I do is I dump ore in this end, and at this end it produces me, because that's going into there, and that's going into there, and that's going into there, and you know, all my assemblers, my final assemblies, go into this small box down here. And so I've just set that to run infinitely, and it's just pumping out refiners constantly. The only limitation to this is the fact that I have to put these schematics in here. Well, not those ones, those ones. So you have to make these schematics, and the way that you make these is you click on schematics over here, or you hit Control K, and you can look up the element that you're trying to make, whatever it is. For this example, I'm just going to use the refiners that I'm already making, because I do need to make some more refiners. And it tells you how many you get per batch and what it costs per batch. So basically you use one of these if you're making one thing, and so on and so forth. It's a bit different when it comes to honeycomb. With honeycomb, you need to have, if you're making say 25 batches of honeycomb, because when you make the honeycomb in your nano crafter, you make it one batch at a time. But when you make it in a honeycomb factory, you're making it 25 batches at a time. So you need to have 20 or 25 schematics in order to make one craft of it. And I know that seems ridiculous, because it kind of is, but that's just the way that it works, and we just have to live with that. Apparently they were having a lot of trouble with developing the honeycombers to actually output correctly in the first place. So this is 3 per batch, 1,500 per batch, 15,000 per batch is what the base cost of it. The base time, it takes 50 minutes to make one. You just click here, you go there, 15,000 that has just cost me to make that, and after 50 minutes I will have these schematics. Now if you don't remember to make your schematics before your production shuts down, then you have to wait for the schematics to be made before you can restart your production. So it's a good idea to keep a stock of these things as you're going through and making things. It's a good idea to keep everything stocked up as you can. I'm a little bit low on funds at the moment. I've only got 237,000. So I'm just going to make, like, I don't know, 10. Yeah, 10 will do. Because I am running low on M schematics at the moment. I do have some in the other base over here. This is basic robotic arms are not being made. Okay. So this is not making basic robotic arms, and I don't know why. So I'm just going to take a look at my basic robotic arms and see what it's lacking. Okay, so it's lacking basic components. The basic components are being made over here. Now they are being output into this extra small container. So what I do is it this one? Yeah, this one. So you can hit Control and click on this, and it'll keep it highlighted for you, and then you can draw a link directly into the one that you have highlighted. Oh, okay. Hang on. It's the ones that have the links highlighted to it. So it's that one. Oh, it says that all plugs are used. So maybe it's not making enough of them. Let's just check and see how many are in there. Okay, so it's not getting enough basic components because it doesn't seem to have enough ALFE. No, it's got plenty of basic ALFE. Oh, you know what it is? I haven't started production on this. Ha! Anyway, there's little things like that that can go wrong with your factory. But that's alright, it's up and running again now. So this is making honeycombers, honeycomb factories, and the other one's making refiners, and I'm just basically selling those on the market. It's got 24 schematics left, and what I do is with my spreadsheet, it tells me what they cost me, which I'm not going to go into now, because if you ever put anything online with what they cost you and post it on YouTube or anything. There's just a whole bunch of people that just start doing that, which is very frustrating, but you know, I learnt that lesson before, so I'm not going to do that. And anyway, we've got these Honeycomb Refiners, Honeycomb Refineries, basic refiners, and I just sell these on the market. I've also got some honeycomb itself, like steel honeycomb, and I sell that on the market as well. I am making a profit on that, but it's not much. It's a very small margin. It's just, you know, yeah. But anyway, it does sort of turn over and keep me in schematics and stuff like that. So anyway, that's basically all you need to know about factories to begin with. If you need to buy anything, you go into the market, you look up the item, let's just say hematite, and you create a buy order. Select the market where you want to buy it. I'm actually at Haven 13, so I select the order, type in the quantity that you want, say 2,000, 20,000, 200,000, whatever you want. Hit the price per unit. I would suggest using price per unit that's actually competitive, and when it comes to the tier 1 ores, it has to be above 25 because the bots buy the ore at 25. So if you're going to try and buy any of the tier 1 ores under 25, it's not going to happen because every market has an automatic buy order at 25 for all of these. So I just do it at 26, and you just hit create order and it'll create your order straight up. Next thing that I need to go into is factory building. Right, factory building. Yeah. So these static cores are pretty freaking difficult to make at the beginning of the game. I did actually make mine because I wanted to know what was involved in making them, and believe me, it would have just been way easier if I would have just bought one off the market. There are people who have production lines that just make these things. I personally don't because I'm making refiners and honeycombers. You would be much better off just buying these and setting up your factory. You don't need much to set up a factory like this to begin with. You can put your honeycomb in just in a straight line across here, draw it across. There is something that you will be taught in the tutorial that I think is something that you really need to know. If you have honeycomb like this, you hold the mouse in and it will draw in the direction that you pull the mouse. But if you hold the mouse in and let it go, you can also take it in another direction. So yeah, that's something that you should keep in mind because it will help you build like floors like this and stuff like that. So just hit escape to cancel that sort of thing. The containers, small containers, are ideal to get started because they only cost about 30,000, 40,000 each. There are people that are making these things en masse. Medium containers are great to hold things like produced ingots and stuff like that, because when you produce ingots, as you can see here, I've got all this oxygen, all this hydrogen. I don't even use oxygen and hydrogen, but unfortunately it's a byproduct of every single ingot that you make, and it's frustrating as hell because you basically just have to trash this. It is worth nothing on the market. No one buys it, no one uses it, and it's just a byproduct of everything that you make. Frustrating as hell because it fills up your containers while you're doing your production, and you have to come in here and clear out your containers every now and then because your production line will shut down because you're full on oxygen and hydrogen. It's just useless to me. It is used to make things like fuels and things like that, but it's completely useless to me because I am making assembly lines and things like that. I wish that there was a way that we could just make oxygen or hydrogen as a separate thing to the ingots, but for now this is the way that it works, so we've got to live with it. Next up, just going to dump this hematite in here anyway. So let's start producing. I've got a couple of smelters here that do the pure iron, but see that there's 143 litres of oxygen that I'm never going to use, and I just have to trash that. I just have to throw that away, you know. And I'm never going to use that. But anyway, so the steel comes in here to this pure iron, pure carbon, and these actually make the steel product. That's a tier 1 product material, and that output for that is the steel over here. This is some more steel product, and the steel product goes into here, and this is where I make my blue steel, like any steel honeycomb. I make it in here, and the output for that is in here, and that's where I store all my honeycomb. And you use it for floors, factories, ships, anything like that. You got to keep in mind the weight of your honeycomb when you're building your ships. There's no good building a brick that's got walls and stuff on it if it won't fly, because your honeycomb does have weight as well. It's not free material for weight, it's going to be heavy as well. So there are people who are making ships that you can just fly over and buy that are not UEF ships. I'm not sure how the storage on that works. I will get back to you on that one, because I have had a couple of times where I've tried to buy a ship in the alpha and beta, and because my nano pack wasn't big enough, I couldn't pick up the materials. I even parked a ship nearby to try and transfer the materials into that, but I couldn't figure out how to actually purchase that product. So that's a bit of a problem as well, but I'm not sure if they've fixed that now. But anyway, that's basically what I have learned today, this week, and this is just the starting area. I've got a Nitron Fuel here. Oh, that is something else that I want to talk about. The Nitron Fuel, this stuff is really easy to make. You don't have to buy it. Get a chemical factory, start making it. It's cheap as chips. If you buy it off the market, well, yeah, you may as well, because it's cheap as chips, and it's cheap as chips on the market as well. But you want to carry at least a little bit of fuel with you, because if you are traveling somewhere and your fuel is running low, you want to be able to set down and refuel just so that you've got enough to get to your destination. Now, in saying that, there is a HUD that you can get, which you'll hear people talking about this all the time when you get into the game. There is a HUD that you can get that's called Arch HUD, and this is a far better HUD than the one that comes with the game. This is so much better, and it will actually, if you hit Alt 66, it will take you up to 11% atmosphere. Now, the way that the fuel works in this game is that the higher the atmosphere, the less fuel you're using. Like, the less atmosphere there is, the less fuel you're using to propel you, just like in, real world physics sort of thing. If you get to 11% atmosphere, then you're basically at the most efficient sort of fuel to cost ratio for traveling long distances. And this will take you straight up to 11% atmosphere, so that you don't have to manage all that sort of thing. It does autopilot and stuff, but I haven't figured any of that autopilot stuff out. I will in the end, just not right now. But basically, you hit your G, it takes you up. You hit control, it switches off your brakes. It keeps you steady. It does everything like that. With the basic HUD, it doesn't do that. And the beauty of it is, you hit G and it will just stop you and land you right side up. It's beautiful, beautiful HUD. Love it. So if that's something that you want to install, that's for sure. That is definitely something that you want to install. These M-Core statics are very hard to make and require uncommon components and stuff. So there's like 4 tiers of materials in this game, maybe 5 tiers of materials. Don't quote me on that. But you build one of these medium cores. Each core is 8 times the size of the last, like in volume that you can build on. So basically, it's another cubic factor onto the core. So it's double and cubed, basically, is the size of each core. So this is a medium core that you can see the distance out to there and the distance across. That's actually the size of the core. I haven't filled in the entire factory yet, but I'm basically going to move all those factories onto this core, and then I'm going to disassemble the honeycomb over there and sell it and stuff. But you can see this is the size of the core for a small, and as you can see, this is the size, and that is, well, basically 4 times on one plane the size of this, but you know, it's 8 times, it's 2 times cubed the volume for each core size. So if you go to a large, it will be 8 times the size of that one over there, and if you go to an extra large, it'll be 8 times the large size, and so on and so forth, you know, which means you can have like huge structures. It works the same way for ships. So this is an extra small core. If I went to a small, you could build one 4 times the size. A small core is a good place to start with things that you're doing in the game, if you want to build your own ships and stuff. But that's just a UEF bought ship. It was like 146,000 or something. It gets the job done for me, but I'm starting to reach the point where I'm not getting enough space to carry the things back from the market for the production that I'm building. So I'm thinking of upgrading to like a mule man or something, because I get people to ship things into me, and then I go and pick it up and bring it back, and then I turn it into products, and then I take those products back to the market and sell them at that market. There is other things that you can do with this mission thing. There are, so you can sell things when they reach the other end. If you're making one of these hauling missions, you can say hauling plus sell. So say you have a product that is only selling for 50,000 at your market, but there's someone in another market that is buying them for 70,000. What you do is you set up a hauling plus sell mission, and you set the duration and all that, and you select the origin. So outpost, parcel, blah blah blah. You select the package, and then when it gets to that market, they will sell the product to the person there that has the sell order. It's an instant sell. It's always an instant sell, but it means that you can pay someone to ship your product to a market and sell it immediately, and you will receive the profit, and you pay them for shipping it there. So you got to keep that in mind when you're doing that, because you still have to pay the person that hauls it. Now, if you're worried about losing any money when you're doing this sort of thing, you can actually do a sell order now. Okay, so you can do a sell order now. You can set it up as a sell order when it gets to that market. So when you give them the reward, they sell the stuff at that market, and that's basically it. I don't think there's really much else that you need to know. Oh, talents. You really have to specify what you're going to specialize in at the beginning of this game. You really have to specify what you're going to specialize in before you start training. For me, like, I don't care about piloting, I don't care about element health points. I'm not going to be doing any PvP or anything like that, at least for now. So what I've done is I've just spec'd into mining, industry, crafting. Anything that gives me better crafting is what I'm training in. You can set up your training queues just like in Eve. They can go as long as you want. As long as you have subscription, you will always be training skills. Now, here's the thing. If you have a subscription but you don't have your queue set up, you will only get 120 skill points per minute. If you have your skill queue active and actively training something, you will get 180 skill points per minute. So it's worth it that if you're going away on holidays or something like that, it's worth it that you put in at least a fortnight or a month or whatever worth of training, because you will get an extra 60 skill points per minute if you're training something. So there's no point in just accumulating them in the background and then spending them on what you need at the time, because you're not actually getting as many skill points as other people who are actively training. Now these train while you're offline as well. You don't have to be offline. You don't have to be online to train them. But while you're offline, they will train at the same rate. If the queue runs out, it will go back to the 120, even if you're offline. Even if you're online. But you need to make sure that you know what you're going to do, what your play style is, and how you're going to achieve your wealth and fortune, or whatever it is you want to do in this game. You need to know that before you start training. Now, when you're training this stuff, it is probably a good idea to put some skills into piloting, because you are going to be piloting places every now and then. Me personally, no, I hate traveling, but most people will actually travel somewhere, and piloting skill is what you need to actually get the best out of your engines and get the best out of your fuel economy and stuff like that. Personally, I travel from here to the market and back again. I don't really go anywhere else. And yeah, that's about it. I think that covers practically everything that you need to know when you start playing this game. And if you enjoy these videos, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. And I will see you all next time. Peace out. Someone bought some refiners. Nice.